this is Bonnie from Bonnie's Bargains. Hoping you're having a great day. Happy Mask Monday. So, as you can see, I have on some under eye patches. And the reason that I'm not putting a mask on, and I'm just going to put it out there, I've had two things that has shown up on my lips. And so I've got to make a doctor's appointment. And of course, every time it shows up, you know, I get paranoid with the cancer thing. But because my last cancer started out like a sun sore or a blister. But anyway, I always get paranoid, so I don't want to put a mask on. So I'm going to try to get a doctor's appointment this week. So that's why I'm not in a full tissue mask. But let's move on. So today what I am using is the Spalife patches, and you leave these on for 20 minutes, and they have a lot of serum, as you can see. So again, 20 minutes, but I've already had those on. So it's supposed to help moisturize, and it's supposed to help wrinkles. But I have to say, I'm sorry, I wanted you to see these just because you know what's going on, because some people's like, ooh, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some salve on these because they do hurt and they sort of draw my mouth. And so I want to go ahead and put that salve on. It gives my skin a little bit of flexibility. So there we go. Before I get started, I'm going to do a story today, a true story. But before I get started, I wanted to say that I received a message from Nancy Nettleblatt, and she won my giveaway probably a week ago, I believe. And she said to please give prayers for her area of Fitchburg, Massachusetts. I guess there is a hurricane that is heading her way, and it should be Sunday into Monday. So shout out to Nancy, prayers up. So I ask for all of you to pray for that area and all of those people. The other thing, Cindy Smith, she also has been a true YouTube subscriber and has become a very good friend. Her husband has been diagnosed with COVID, and so right now they are in quarantine. Very hard to be under quarantine, so I asked for you to pray for her husband. I believe his name is Dennis, but to pray for him and her and for the family. The other thing is Carol from Plain Vanilla Grandma Station. Her ex-husband is still not doing well. He has COVID and pneumonia. They did have to use the paddles on him this week. So he's in the hospital. Lots of prayers up for him and their family, especially their children, and for Dennis and his wife now, but especially for Carol also. This affects the whole family. So prayers up for them. Okay, the story that I'm going to tell you today is a true story. It was many years ago. In fact, Ed and I had not been married that long, and we lived in a place called Mountain Green, Utah. Well, we decided to drive up to Malad, Idaho. It's one of our favorite places. It's just a little town, and the name of the story is going to be about the hot dog lady. Remember that, the hot dog lady. So Ed said, Bonnie, he got up, he said, let's just go out to lunch. Let's drive to Malad. It only takes like an hour to get there, if that long. I said, oh yeah, that sounds fun. So we got in the car, headed to Malad. And we ended up, everything's like a little bar and grill or whatever there. So we ended up at this little bar and grill. I think it was called Blue Moon, the Blue Moon Bar and Grill in Malad. So we get out of the car and we go in and we just start talking to all the local yokels. That's just what you do in Malad. And so we ordered us some lunch, and in came this little lady, and she sat down at our table along with a lot of the other local yokels. And to be honest, I don't even remember her name. But I remember looking at her, and before I get into the story, Ed had went with a friend, and he had picked me up a shirt that said, "Good for what ails you." And it was picked up from Salt Lake Brewing Company. And it was a white type of shirt that had just a round neck, long sleeves, straight, but it did say "Good for what ails you" on the front. And so this little lady comes in and she's like, "I'm gonna sit down with you guys." And we're like, "Yeah, the more the merrier, sit down and join us." So this little lady got to drinking. And so she moved over. Somebody got up that was sitting by me, so she moved over by me. And she said, I want that shirt you've got on. And I said, "You know what? I am so sorry, but my husband just bought me this shirt." And she said, "Well, I want it." And I said, "Well, you know, this shirt is special for me for a special number of reasons." And I said, "But you look pretty today." Well, the lady had on a long shirt that buttoned up the front, and a lot of the buttons was missing. It was like a corduroy, and it had plaids in it, and it was missing buttons down, and it had cuffs, but it was missing the buttons to cuff it. You know what I mean? It was just sort of hanging open, flapping, and so we all started talking again at the table, and this lady kept nudging me and saying, "You know, I really like that shirt." And I leaned over to Ed in a few minutes and I said, "Ed, this lady's really wanting my shirt." And he's like, "Bonnie, I just got you that shirt." And I'm like, "I know, I really like it." And he's like, "Don't be giving your shirt away." He said, "It's not even a week old." I said, "Okay, all right." So I sat back up, and then I was trying to think of a conversation, you know. So I looked over at her and I said, "Well, what do you do? Do you live here in Malad?" And she said, "Well, I do." And I said, "Well, where do you work? What do you do?" And she said, "I'm the hot dog lady." And I said, "The hot dog lady?" She said, "Yes." She said, "I push a cart around in Malad, and I sell hot dogs." And she said, "My cart's out there in the front." And then she starts telling me of some trials and tribulation she's been through. And I know she's drinking quite a bit, which is none of my business, but I just notice it. And she kept talking to me. And then she says, "I really want that shirt you have on. And I can wear it when I push around my hot dog cart." And so I said, "Well, let me think about it." Well, then probably an hour or two passed, and we were talking. There was a lot of people that had gathered at our table, the local yokels. And so every time somebody would sit down that knew this lady, they'd say, "Well, hi, Miss Hot Dog Lady, how you doing?" And she's like, well, I'm trying to get this lady right here to give me her shirt, and she won't give it to me. And so I said, well, what am I supposed to put on if I give you the shirt? And she said, well, that's not a problem, lady. She said, you can have this nice little shirt that I've got on here. And I looked at her, and it had a ducktail, you know, in the front and the back. And I kept looking at her and kept looking at her, and I thought, and she said, well, how much would you charge me for that shirt you've got on? And I said, oh, you know, I wouldn't charge you anything for this shirt, but my husband just gave it to me. So we kept going over the same conversation. So she kept drinking more and more. And then she started having tears come down her face. And I said, what's wrong with you? I said, what's your name? And she said, just call me the hot dog lady. And I said, well, hot dog lady, I don't want to see you cry. I said, are you really wanting that shirt that bad? And she's like, no, I just feel like crying. So I turned around. This was probably 2 hours later, and I turned around and I told Dad, I said, I'm giving this lady my shirt. And he said, Bonnie, do not give your shirt away. I just gave you that shirt, and I really like that shirt on you. And so I said, well, all right. So the hot dog lady got up, and she headed to the restroom. So I sat there for a minute, and I got up and I followed her to the bathroom. She was in the restroom, and I'm out there waiting for her, you know, where the sink is. And she came out, and I said, after you wash your hands, me and you gonna swap shirts. And I said, hopefully your shirt's gonna fit me. And she said, get out of town. That's what she said. Get out of town. I'll never forget it. Get out of town. Are you kidding me? And I said, no, Miss Hot Dog Lady, I'm going to give you this shirt. But your shirt's got to fit me, because you've got some buttons missing, and I got to make sure that I'm covered up like I should be. And so I said, let me try your shirt on first before we go back outside. Well, people, I put that shirt on, and it covered me in the right places, but it didn't have any buttons down at the bottom. It did. The only place that had buttons was through the bust. So that area was covered. But when I picked my arms up, the cuffs was just hanging. So I just turned the cuffs up, rolled them up to about right here, and I said, all right, you can have this shirt. Well, you would have thought that I would have gave her the moon. And she started hugging my neck and saying, nobody's ever given me anything before, not the shirt off their back. And I said, well, I'm not taking the shirt off your back. She's like, no, you are literally giving me the shirt off your back. I just about cried. I'm sorry, because she was so excited. And you can tell that the hot dog lady had had a lot of hard times in her life. People, she put that shirt on, and she stood up in front of that mirror, and she was just twisting and turning. And so I said, you go show those people your new shirt. So out we walked, and I was sort of trying to hold on to the bottom, and I sat down at the table, and she's telling everybody, look at my new shirt. Now she's drinking, but she's a happy drinker, thank goodness. And so Ed looked over at me and he said, I knew that you were going to do that. And I said, please forgive me. I could not help myself. And he just shook his head and he said, I'll get you another one. It's okay. And so I said, because I do love that shirt. And I did love that shirt. And so she left. And so in a few minutes, I said, I think I need to go home and take a shower. I just don't feel right, you know. And Ed said, yes, you are not looking the best, Bonnie. And I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to wash the shirt and I'm going to keep it. And I know enough sewing to sew some buttons on it. And this is always going to remind me of the hot dog lady. And so in a little bit, me and Ed got up. We went and got in the car. And we started to leave. And who was out there pushing that cart but the hot dog lady? And I rolled down the window and I said, goodbye, hot dog lady. And she waved back, thank you for the shirt because it's what ails me. It's good for what ails me. And Ed and I started laughing so hard. But the point of the story is you never know when you can put a rainbow in someone's day. Now, this is a true story. I give you my word. And you know, Ed and I came home. I talked about that hot dog lady all the way home about, you know, she was truly so happy with that shirt. And I still think about her. Never did tell me her name, didn't really want to. And everybody that sat down at the table would say, well, hey, hot dog lady. And she was probably in her 30s, you know. But every time we go back to Malad, I always look for the hot dog lady, but I never see her. And sometimes we just ride through the town, but she's never there. But I always think of her because she touched me. She touched me. So that's my story. And just remember, I'm going to close out, but remember you can always be a rainbow in someone's clouds. I'll see you in the next video.